Guys, it's Cheryl Nembhard and welcome to On the Path podcast. I'm so excited to have you with me. And guys, today is going to be a great episode. This is our finale episode of season 1. We are finishing with a bang. And today's guest is none other than your girl right here. That's right. Yours truly. I'm going solo this time. First time for the whole season. I can't wait to talk to you. I want to encourage you. I want to give you some truth. I want to share openly about what's been going on with me and what I've learned. I'm calling this Recap 2020. So I hope you guys are getting ready. Grab something comfortable, chill, get a hot drink, get your pens and pencils out because your girl's going to be spitting some bars of knowledge. I cannot wait to share what I've learned. This is On the Path.
1, 2, 3, go!
Hey guys, it's so good to be here. Guys, I'm so thankful. Thank you for being here. I think the first thing that I want to do is just say what's up. What's up to everyone who has been faithful and supporting and listening. And if you are listening right now, can I just say thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, for supporting it, for sharing it. And while you're here, why don't you reach right up to that like button? Please, please, please do your girl a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get those ratings up even further. Because of you, in just season 1, we have hit top 200 globally in our demographic and in our category. We've hit top 75 in Canada, top 25 in Ireland. Shout out to Ireland, y'all. And a lot of other milestones that I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it is all because of you. And guys, this is the little engine that could. It's a dream about being real and honest and vulnerable and learning together. No one's the teacher. No one's the student. We are both at the same time as we go through life. And so, yeah, thank you. Like, subscribe, and I cannot wait to get into this conversation. But first, let me say that this talk today, this final episode, is being brought to you by the Lighthouse Project. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is what I do. This is my full-time ministry. This is part of it outside of speaking and teaching, being on TV with TV shows. But this is my heart. My heart is to see men and women become emotionally healed and set free and really made free to pursue all that God has for them. And there are so many things that block us, so many things that come in our way, from fear, doubt, low self-worth, unforgiveness, the traumas of our past. There are many things that we work through every day just to show up. And so the Lighthouse Project is an amazing online course, and it's launching again for its 4th cycle, guys. We've had over hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people that have signed up with each cycle, and we're about to launch it again at the end of this month, beginning of October, and I don't want you to miss it. So if you feel stuck, especially in this year that we've had, it's been insane, guys. It's been crazy. Let's not sugarcoat it. We're going to talk about it. 2020 has been such a challenging year. I heard someone say, can we please cancel 2020? And that may be your experience. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed, really like you're underwater, the Lighthouse Project is for you. You can go to www.CherylNembhard.com/lighthouse. Again, CherylNembhard.com/lighthouse. And this is a program with Christian therapists, psychologists, life coaches, pastors. We have brought out the big guns to come alongside. We are your support group. We are your cheerleaders. It is like group therapy. It's like emotional therapy for those that don't have the budget. You feel me? For emotional therapy, it's a great way to really feel supported and get some healing. So with that being said, I got some stuff to talk about today. There is a lot going on with me. I think I'm going to start this talk about where we're at with something that I posted today on my story. I'm going to find it right now, and it really sums up how I'm feeling. And, this is just a part of what's going on. Guys, let's think about it. We've had COVID-19, this whole pandemic, so many lives lost globally. That alone is such a weight to bear and to think through and navigate through. And on top of that, the quarantining that has gone on is still going on to some degree right across the world. And what that brings in the beginning of this whole pandemic, businesses were shut down, restaurants, shops, people lost their jobs, guys. Financial crisis. People are saying it's an economic crisis. People are at the end of their rope. And now, that we're in a bit of the clear, evictions are happening all around, not only here in Canada, but I'm watching news stories of people getting evicted out of their homes. Can you imagine during this time of pandemic and job loss? So much. Now, add to that pot this racial tension and sort of this undercurrent of a civil rights movement, a resurgence, if you will. This is the civil rights movement of 2020. This is what we saw in the 60s and in the 50s. We have seen it literally. I watched almost something that looked like a mirror reflection of a very historic time with Martin Luther King. We just had the March on Washington, and we had Minister Al-Sharpton and some other civil rights leaders. Guys, we are in a civil rights movement again, a people crying out for justice. We're seeing police brutality to the left and the right of us, injustice, racial profiling. There seems to be this horrible rise of hatred. And I'm telling you, this is breaking the heart of God. And this, at the end of the day, is a podcast filled with faith, filled with encouragement. And we want to know not only like what we're thinking, but what is God saying about all of this? What is God's heart for all of this? So I've got some scriptures and I've got some things I want to share, but I'm going to sum up how I feel. If you want to ask me a question, go ahead, ask me. Say, Cheryl, how you feeling? Well, I'm going to read it for you. How about this? This is what it says. It says, I wish Kobe had stayed homesick that day, that fateful day that I think really kicked off this year, right, guys? And I wish that Jacob Blake would have just let those women fight. I wish that Ahmaud Arbery ran a different path. And I wish that Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend had been out on a date that night. I wish that George Floyd used a credit card instead of cash. And I wish that Chadwick Boseman had another treatment option. But this is what got me. And I wish that America loved Black people the way they love our talents, the way they love our culture. And I wish I could wake up now from this nightmare. I am tired. I think that is going to be if I can make a t-shirt to walk around, it would be, I am tired. And, this is just a heads up for all of my friends and family. I have so many that are my non-Black allies that listen intently and are taking some wisdom and instruction from me. And I feel very privileged to be considered a teaching voice in this moment. Your girl is tired. We are tired. We're exhausted. And I'll tell you why we're exhausted. Because right now we're in a situation where I call us wounded Wikipedia warriors. We're not being given moments to grieve. What's happening is traumatic all around us. You can never know the trauma of watching your community be brutalized and shot, murdered, slowly executed, and the like, more and more and more. It takes a toll. But to have to get into these heated debates and arguments and almost be on the defense and have to have all of our history right and our numbers right and our facts right and going through police records and reports and justifications, it is like traumatizing a person all over again. And so that's why I call it a wounded Wikipedia warrior. And that's what I feel I've been, because I don't have space to break. I don't have space to have questions myself. I have to always be teaching. And I've been doing that right through. And no complaints. It's a privilege, but it is something I want you to file away in your back pocket when you're asking people to teach you their history and tell us what to do and give us the steps and what books should we be reading and what are our resources and where can we go? And all of that, we do want to help and we want to be there. But We need moments and spaces to breathe, to lament, to grieve. You feel me on all of that? Just some thoughts there for you. And, I'll be honest with you, before 2020, I absolutely, we were very aware here in Canada of racism, absolutely aware. But there was always this sort of imaginary fence of that is the States. What we're seeing is horrible, but that would never come here. Well, let me tell you. Racism is alive and well in Canada, my friends, and it has come to my doorstep personally in a very close to home story that only took place on Sunday, a couple of days ago. I'm not sure what day you'll be listening to this, but for now, it is 72 hours ago, where my beloved nephew and his fiance, who I've known since she was a little baby girl, were racially profiled, mistreated, and literally escorted by police at a public museum for taking engagement photos. And, it was amazing to see in the midst of that darkness, a group, a nation, a people in this city, province, and country rally around that couple. I heard his voice. I know I did my part, my small part to mobilize while others did theirs. And I just want to say, for anyone that reshared and reposted my post, guys, my post of theirs was reshared 1,172 times. That is 1,172 people. And that's just Instagram alone. On Facebook, there's another 150 people making an intentional, conscious decision to not be silent when it matters, to speak up, to advocate for those who have been marginalized, profiled, racialized in any way. This is a moment that I can celebrate this nation and this city. Toronto, as we say, you pulled up. Canada, you pulled up, and you said no to racism in 2020. And I feel encouraged. I feel a little bit hopeful that there is a generation of people that are non-Black, that are yelling louder than us, petitioning, picketing, making their voices heard even louder sometimes than us. So can I say thank you? Change will not happen unless it happens cross-culturally, cross ethnicities, cross dividing lines. It will not happen in a singular racial demographic. The reason we are frustrated and the reason we are tired is that we have been yelling and screaming injustice, injustice, injustice by ourselves. And now, what feels like the first time in a long time, or ever, we are being believed. Thanks to video, thanks to social media, thanks to the visuals that people are seeing and on the news, we are being believed, and there is a movement afoot. And this moment has turned literally into a global movement. And I want to just say thank you. As your sister, as your friend, as your girlfriend, I just want to say thank you so much for showing up when it matters and speaking and not being silent. And you know what, guys, I know that there are two sort of groups in this world. There are those that will sit by and idly watch and have opinions and thoughts to themselves. And then there are those that will roll up their sleeves and put what I call skin in the game. And it's so funny because I've got a scripture that I want to share, and I'm going to find it for us. And I really it hit me so hard a couple of weeks ago. And I believe that this is God speaking to us. This is a word. It's a word of what we call in the old church of admonishment. It's a word of correction from God. And this is not a word for people that are standing alongside, holding hands, speaking truth to power, being the light of God in a dark time, loving out loud, as I call it. This is not for anyone who is being the church. This is for those that are still locked in doing church. This is for those that are in the busyness and doing the business of church and don't want to get engaged, don't want to be a part. They just want to gather. This is for those that just want to gather in their virtual walls, worship, carry on conferences as if nothing is happening outside, as if the houses around them are not burning. This is from Amos chapter 5, verses 21 to 24. Amos chapter 5, verses 21 to 24. And this is the Message version, which I love. It's very simple, everyday language that we can get. And this is the Lord. I can't stand your religious meetings. I'm fed up with your conferences and conventions. I want nothing to do with your religious projects, your pretentious slogans and goals. I'm sick of your fundraising schemes, your public relations and image making. I've had all I can take of your no-go music. Ouch. When was the last time you sang to me? Do you know what I want? I want justice, oceans of it. I want fairness, rivers of it. That's what I want. That's all I want. And, I know that the heart of God, if you are a believer, the heart of God beats for justice, for love, for mercy, for equality, that every single person is made in the image of God. We are all children of the Most High God, and we deserve to be treated with dignity and respect and love. And, I encourage you guys to continue this path of learning, this path of advocacy, this path of change making. But I'm going to tell you something, and this is kind of where I want to land and end here. I have been noticing sort of two camps rising up in my world. As I post, as I teach, as I share a sermon, a video, a podcast, there's always two groups of people that come into my path. The first, I would say, is super helpful. And I'm speaking now specifically, let's be clear, to the non-BIPOC community. These are the two responses I'm seeing. One, absolutely amazing, encouraging, inspiring, almost igniting to further change and building us up, not tearing us down. This particular camp is determined to see a new world born, a world where there is no racial strife, no prejudice, no brutality, but people live in the harmony and peace that God has ordained for us, living as brothers, living, as the Bible says, as neighbors, loving our neighbors as ourselves. And that is that camp I'll call Allyship. That's the Allyship camp. And there are so many people every day, with every minute, as they get more and more fed up. Everyone's got their different water levels, right? Everyone's got their different water levels, but they get to that point and they decide enough is enough, and they speak up. They love, they address, it's not enough to just say, I'm not a racist, as we said, but it's now time to be active in our anti-racism. So now we're looking for places and spaces where we are seeing racism rear its ugly head. And these guys, like a fireman, they're hosing down the fires around them. And they're not allowing speech and horrible jokes and treatment to happen. As I always say, if I can make a t-shirt, not on my watch, right? Not on my watch. And so we have a group of allies that are surrounding us and rising. But there's also something that's happening on the other side, which I have encountered personally, that I want to address because, hey, it's my podcast. So I'm going to say what I need to say to get my stuff out and be a little bit lighter and free. It's called gaslighting. And this is a term that may be fairly new to you, especially in the context of racial tensions and in racial exchanges. You can actually have racial gaslighting. Can I tell you what that is? That is trying to convince the victim that their experience is not their experience, right? Trying to excuse away, minimize, counter, wash away as if it's not truth, and saying, oh, that can't be. There's no, my favorite is there's no racism. What are you all talking about? There's no racism. Or that didn't really happen. There's more to the story. Here's some racial gaslighting sentences. There's got to be more to the story. It can't be that horrible. Well, surprise, it is that horrible. Um, Defending those that are engaged in wrong behavior. Well, maybe there's another side, and maybe this person is innocent. The reverse is true, and this is the one that hurts the most. Criminalizing those who have already suffered, either been murdered or brutalized, and looking for dirt to criminalize them, almost as if to justify their unjust death. It's unreal to see what's happening, to see the tarnishing of Jacob Blake, the tarnishing of Ahmaud Arbery, the lies being spread about Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, like just the vicious, elaborate, systematic attempts to tarnish those who have been afflicted. I sum it up like this. It's like stepping on my toe with nails in your boot and then making me feel horrible, treating me brutally because I've said ouch. It's telling me to shut up while you're crushing my foot. It's telling me that I don't have a right to speak, that I need to be quiet. Enough of that. Let's move on already. That is racial gaslighting. And I, for one, am drawing a line. So for those that know me, for those that don't know me, for those that follow me, if suddenly you can't find my stuff on your Facebook, surprise, you've been blocked. I am not dealing with any of that. The block button has become my best friend. Child, let's say it with me. Blockity, block, block, block. Squawkity squawk. I am blocking people because I'm just not interested. I'm not going to be further traumatized. If you can't see what's going on with your own eyes, well, that's up to you. But for me and my house, we will not allow any more racial gaslighting. So if you're not aware that perhaps is what you're doing when you are making those that are being victimized further victims, for speaking out. And for those that don't understand, let me give you another good analogy. It is how the world and government systems treat rape victims by trying to look for ways to make them look like they are floozies and whores and horrible things. And you know, the names that they try to dig up, it is painting them in a negative picture, almost as if they deserve that horrible, horrible injustice. Guys, this is wrong. We need to stop this. Don't let this happen on your watch. If you see it, if you read it, if you're around it, no more. Say it with me. No more racial gaslighting. Let's end on a good note, because those people, we're done with those people. They are officially canceled in 2020. I want to speak to those that want to make change. I want to speak to those that want to be on the side of truth, be on the side of justice. I want to speak to allies in this moment. Where are my freedom fighters? If that's you, say, hey, all my freedom fighters, all my justice seekers, truth seekers, I want to talk to you. I got a really cool acronym that I think I want to end on for allyship. And I've shared this in a podcast before and gotten quite a lot of feedback and emails asking for me to say it again. So if you are one that loves to learn, why don't you go ahead and grab a pen? I'll wait. Go ahead and grab a pen and a paper, or you can play this back several times, and I'd love to leave this with you. This was born out of several sessions, teachings, workshops. I had some opportunities to speak at churches, and I really wanted them to have something tangible that they could take away with them. I wanted them to have a takeaway. And so this is what came to me. Allyship. So A, acknowledge. A is acknowledge. I want you to acknowledge the racism around you. An ally is someone who will acknowledge their white privilege or acknowledge gaslighting, acknowledge toxic behavior whenever they see it. We talked about the jokes, we talked about all the things that are no longer acceptable, and they will address it whenever and wherever they see it. Let's go to L. L is to listen. It's time now that we begin to listen to diverse voices and what they have to say. And not only that, it's time to listen to the cries of injustice. And it's time to believe Black voices. When Black voices cry out for injustice, believe them. Just believe them. Come alongside. And it's time now in that listening posture, we are quiet so that we can learn. And that's the other L. Let's learn. Let's learn about racism. We can learn through books, podcasts. I know that so many have been in a posture of listening and learning. Articles. Book a person of color. Book a Black speaker, Black teacher. Get from the firsthand experience. Hear their stories. Sometimes it's just hearing the stories that help shift perspective. It brings a face to the pain. It makes it very real and tangible. So I want you to get in that posture of learning. And this is very important. It's time to yield. Why? Yield space to diverse voices in your platforms, in your ministries, in your organizations, in your schools. It's time to let these people speak. We have been silent for so long, and we have so much to say, and we want to help push the needle forward because we have lived it. We are living it. So we have that first person experience. I would love if you would consider yielding a Sunday. Yield a few minutes in your sermon and have your congregants, have your people in your women's ministry, youth ministry, just give them the floor and ask them on a particular night to share their story or their thoughts. It would be a beautiful, informative, inspiring, I think, life-changing night. Moving into S, we want you to stand with us, guys. Stand alongside us, be with us, take a stand, speak out on injustice. Be willing to here's another S word, be willing to put skin in the game. Sometimes allyship costs. I think about the Good Samaritan. He didn't just, pick the beaten up traveler on the side of the road. He didn't just pick him up and put him on the other side. He picked him up. He cleaned his wounds. He traveled with him and took him to a lodge. He took care of him, food, water, and paid for all of his lodgings and said, if there is more to the bill, if there's a debt that needs to be owed, I will pay it when I come back. Sometimes allyship costs something, right? Next, we go into H. H is help. We really want to ask you to help push the needle forward by not, as we said, not just being racist, but by being anti-racist. And that's a whole different posture. It's more active. It's more intentional. Man, it is time for every believer that believes in the power of prayer. That is what will make change. As we say, many times talk is cheap, but prayer moves mountains. I am a firm believer that we can say to the mountain, be removed. And so I am calling for every prayer warrior, every believer under the sound of my voice. It is time to pray. Let's put our money, our faith, our lives, our heart where our mouth is, and let's pray. Let's cry out for our nation. Let's cry out for the marginalized, cry out for the oppressed, cry out for the broken. Lastly, P, it is time that we move away from performative allyship, doing things for optics only, doing things when they're trendy, doing things when the lights are on. Integrity is who you are when no one's watching. And so it's really important that you become authentic allies. That is where true change lies. That you are this 24 hours a day. You are fighting for truth and justice and freedom. Guys, I am so excited for where God can take us, where God can take us as a people. He wants to do something incredible. So we're going to hold fast to the hand of God. He will never let us fall. He is with us to the very end. And I think a beautiful scripture to end on for those that are making the decision to stand up. I want to encourage you. It's found in Acts chapter 18. And we're going to just read verses 9 and 10. This is Acts chapter 18, verses 9 and 10. And this is the Lord speaking to Paul when he was in Athens. He had traveled from Athens to Corinth. He had hooked up with Aquila, Priscilla, husband, wife, an amazing team. He was preaching. Silas and Timothy showed up, his boys, and they were trying their best to win over the Jewish people, but they were resistant. He preached to the Gentiles, and we are Gentiles, and we received that word. And because of Paul's decision to preach to the Gentiles, we have been given the gospel. And this is what the Lord said to Paul as he was making this pivotal move to preach to the Gentiles. One night, the Lord spoke to Paul in a vision and told him, "Do not be afraid. Speak out. Don't be silent, for I am with you, and no one will attack and harm you, for many people in this city belong to me." So I encourage you, as you are speaking and standing for truth and speaking truth to power, being the change that you need to see in this world, don't be worried by what you see. Don't be worried at how bad it looks. Don't be worried if there's resistance, even if people push back on you. I want you to not be afraid. I want you to not be silent. I want you to speak up, because God is with you, and greater are they that are for you than they that are against. As I always say to my friends, you got this. You got this, and God's got you. Well, this is it. Season 1 in the bag. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being on this journey. We did it, y'all. I want to scream, but woo. Guys, thank you so much. I can't wait to show you season 2 and tell you, should I give you a little hint? I want to tell you who's coming up, but I'm going to keep it to myself. But guys, season 2 is fitting to be lit. We're going to be bigger and better. And I want to thank you. It's all because of you. Please tell your friends, family, tell your boys, tell your girls to tune in to On the Path season 2. Until then, as I always say, this way forward, keep living, keep learning, keep loving. Guys, we can make a difference. We can make a change. God's got you, and we got this. I'll see you on the path.
1, 2, 3.